Alright guys, thank you for clicking on the video today. What we got on the agenda for this video is we're going to be converting the Subaru to stage 2. If you didn't see the last video, I'll put a card up here so you can go check that out. In the last video we did stage 1, virtual dyno, drag strip, all that stuff. So stage 1 made 217 horsepower and 210 foot-pounds of torque. So I have no idea how much we're going to make from stage 2. But I'm very curious to see, and I'm very curious to see if we can get some more boost. I think that'll be the main determining factor of how much more power we make, is if this downpipe opens up the restrictions enough that we can make 16 psi hopefully. I am a little concerned that the factory up pipe is what's causing the turbo to not hit 16 psi, but it could be the downpipe, I'm not sure. So I'm gonna put the downpipe on, try to get as much boost out of it as we can out of the stock turbo. I don't think we'll have to tune anything with the MAF scaling. We might have to adjust some stuff up top, but I'm also getting a wideband O2 sensor now, so I'll be able to better tune the MAF scaling. So I might tune the MAF scaling just because I'll be able to dial it in now. Before I didn't have the wideband, so I can't really do anything. So we're going to be installing this downpipe as well as our Grimspeed top mount intercooler with our Turbo Smart compact blow-off valve, and then I'm also going to be reinstalling my boost gauge, and that's other miscellaneous hoses. I need to put this back on there, and this, because this is the stock turbo setup, and then I have the other hose for the big turbo, the ducting for the Grimspeed intercooler mounts, and then this is the hose for the Grimspeed top mount, which is a bitch to put on, but I think I'm gonna have to do it because I can't find the little adapter piece, so I'll probably have to install that. But yeah, that's what we got going on today, so stay tuned if you're interested. I'm not gonna go too much into detail on all the little parts of installing this stuff. I'll just kind of briefly show you what I'm doing. Here's the Cobb intake, and obviously we're gonna be taking off this old intercooler, so I'm gonna have to cut this engine cover. A lot of people just remove it, but I kind of want to keep the engine cover because I think it makes it look more stock. So we're going to keep the engine cover, cut it so that the top mount, the big top mount, will fit in there. And I'm going to trim as little as I can. So I might have to cut it like here and here, but if I can like trim out this part and this sits over the Grimspeed intercooler, I think it'll be fine. But if not, we'll trim it. I just need to trim however much I need. And then we can take off the heat shield, pull out the old downpipe, pull out the wires I need out from there. Yeah, and then I gotta figure out how to route the boost sensor again. But yeah, lots to do today. We gotta take these two bolts out. Weigh all the stock components and then the aftermarket components that we're putting on, just to see what the difference is. So first I'm going to weigh the factory downpipe, which is going to be a little tricky. So it's looking like 19 pounds, 13 pounds. A little bit of weight savings there, but I think we're gonna get it back from the new intercooler that's a lot larger and heavier. Stock intercooler. 6.4. Hang on. 17.6. Jesus. So in total we gained 5 pounds from the new setup, mainly because of that heavy ass intercooler. But we're definitely going to make up for that additional 5 pounds with some extra power, so that'll be okay. Alright guys, so I'm sorry for the darkness. I'm out here tuning it right now for the stage 2, making the stage 2 tune. I drove it around and it seems like the MAF scaling is good, except for at like the very low MAF range, or like the idle range. It's a little rich. It's removing fuel. Yeah, so it's a little rich. So we're gonna need to tweak that area a little bit. But first I'm going to do a 3rd gear pull, logging, all the important stuff, just to see if upper MAF scale ranges need to be tweaked. If those need to be tweaked, I can tweak them, and then also do the idle. But if those are fine, I'll just do the idle. So far it seems like the tune's good. I don't think I'm gonna need to change much. It is hitting a higher boost pressure, so we'll look into that. But I think I only want to go to 16, so we'll just see what that's set to. So I'm gonna do a preliminary log and just see what we're looking at right now. So from that data log, everything looks good as far as the MAF scaling goes. You can see down here in the learn tables, the AF correction in the 0 to 9 grams per second range is pulling out 11% fuel. So I just went into my MAF scaling table, and all the values below, I think, so 1.64 and below, I decreased the scaler by 8% and then blended it into the upper range. So we'll see where that gets us. I might need to tweak it a little bit more, but that'll get us pretty much in the ballpark. Everything up top seemed good, so we don't need to mess with that. The boost looks good, so I'm just going to double check what my target boost table is set to. Okay, so we can bump this up. So I increased the boost pressure mainly in this area to 16.5, tapered to 16, down to 14. The reason for this taper is this is just kind of naturally how the turbo dies out, and I can kind of show you this. At 3,400 RPMs, we peaked at 16.83, and you can see the red line here. That's the wastegate duty cycle. So the wastegate duty cycle maxed out at 90, and then it kind of overshot the boost because of that, and then the wastegate duty cycle had to kick back down. So we're going to need to lower the max wastegate duty cycle so it doesn't overshoot our boost target. But it hit 16.5 at 3,500 RPMs about, and then it's at 15.5. At 5,000 RPMs, we're down to 14. 6,000 RPMs, we're down to 11. So it just kind of tapers off, and you can see the primary wastegate duty cycle goes back up. So what I kind of did was make the graph kind of that shape, so it follows the trend, but it also has a little bit extra up top just to make sure that the turbo is not, so the ECU is actually pushing the turbo to reach these numbers and it's not undershooting. So this should be a good map for that. I don't think we're going to need to touch that again. We do need to mess with the wastegate duty cycle tables. They're set pretty high right now because we were trying to max it out before, but now that we have, you know, a more free-flowing downpipe, we can hit our targets easier. So let me show you. So this is our initial wastegate duty cycle table. So this is about as low as the wastegate duty cycle will go. And then this is the max wastegate duty cycle table. So it'll go up to 90, but we were definitely overshooting like I showed you before. So it looks like it goes down to 70 to reach 15.5. So I can definitely lower it in a few spots. Ideally, how you tune wastegate duty cycle, and I guess I could probably just do it anyways. So I could take all these values here that are 90 and set them to 70 and see if it hits our target, and if not, then I can increase them. But since I kind of already have a idea of what kind of shape we're looking for here, I can kind of just input the values manually. So I can see it really only needs 70. So you could probably set that to our initial or our max in some areas. So I'm gonna tweak this table how I want it, and then I'll show you and explain to you why. Okay, so I went through, and hopefully you guys can see this good. But based off of the trend line of the wastegate duty cycle here, I kind of have the wastegate duty cycle high, the max wastegate duty cycle high, until the turbo is actually able to reach the target boost, and then it tapers down to like 75. And then as the turbo goes along and starts to run out of efficiency, then I have the primary wastegate duty cycle max increase. So I basically made this curve in the table. So you can see at 2400 RPMs, it's at 90, and that's to get the turbo to spool up quickly and get to the boost pressure as quickly as possible. And then once it's in a range 2800 to 3200 where it can make that target boost pressure, the max wastegate duty cycle set to 75, and then 3600, 4000, 4400, it's at 80, and it's going back to 90 at the closer to red line where it's running out of efficiency. So that should keep the turbo kind of fighting, even though it's running out of efficiency and running lower boost pressures. But that's the setup that we're going to run for the primary wastegate duty cycle table, and it's pretty similar to what my old table was for the stock turbo, so I think it'll work. So that's all I've changed. So I'm going to flash this on. We're going to do another pull, make sure there's no knock, make sure we're hitting our boost targets and the primary wastegate duty cycle is doing what we want it to. So I'm going to go do another pull after we flash it, and we'll be back. So car's idling right now. Sorry for the buffering again. The AF learning is still a little rich, not too bad so far, but it might need a little bit more tweaking, but it's just the same thing I did before. It's kind of just a guess and check type deal, but I think it's good enough for now. So we're gonna go do a poll and see what kind of numbers we're looking at here. And I have it loaded up so it has all the virtual dyno stuff, so we can do that poll, check the logs, make sure they're good, and then if they are good and I don't need to do any more polls, we can use that virtual dyno as our virtual dyno for stage 2. Alright, so I ended up being a little conservative on the primary wastegate duty cycle. So it kind of maxed out trying to get up to boost, so it was at 75, and then as soon as it got into the RPM range where it could bump up to 80, then it started to get close to the target. So I did change that. The air fuel ratio looks good, no knock on that run either, so that was good. So I bumped up the area where I had 75 and 80, I bumped it up to 85 max, and then the initial table is just 20% lower than the max. So I think that should give us good spool up without having us overboost too much. So I think that'll work. So we'll have to do another run to make sure that worked. And then there's no knock going on right now. I don't know if I want to increase the timing. Maybe I'll increase it 1 degree. We'll see what that does. So I'll increase the timing 1 degree from 1.50, and I'll smooth it out, and then we'll flash that on and do another pull and see what happens. The boost looks a lot better now, and the wastegate duty cycle table looks a lot better now. So I think that's where we're gonna leave it. The 1 degree of timing I added in seemed to be a little too much because we actually did get a few knock events during the pull. So that's probably from that 1 degree of timing I added in. So I'm gonna pull that 1 degree of timing out, undo what I just did on that part, and then that should be good for our tune. Let me take a look at the virtual dyno. Okay, so the blue graph is the one with the extra degree of timing, and the red graph is the one we did before. The boost is about the same for both runs, so I'm just, because I'm not going to run it with that 1 degree of timing, so we're just going to look at this other run that we have. So this one looks like 250 wheel horsepower and 259 pound-feet of torque. It's not bad. So let's compare that to our previous stage 1. Okay, so stage 1 is going to be in blue. Shorter pull, I guess. So that's compared to stage 1. So we did get quite a bit of gain from stage 2, if you can see here. If I put it on camera right. We did get quite a bit of a gain from stage 1 to stage 2. It looks like about 40 wheel horsepower and about 50 foot-pounds of torque. And the graph is pretty much the same shape, it's just shifted up. So I think that is a really good gain. I think that's good. So I think these numbers are about what I was seeing when I was previously at this stage before. And then you could see in this bottom graph here how much more boost we're making. This one was 13.5 and now we're up in the 16s. Yeah, 16. So very good. I think that is a good demonstration of what stage 2 can do. So next up is going to the drag strip and seeing what kind of times it puts down. I'm very excited. See what we can do here. Okay, I'm gonna practice using this handbrake. Very good. I don't know what happened. All right. We ran a 1050, so not better than last time, but that launch was pretty bad and it felt like it was down on power as we were taking off. So we'll run again and see if we can do a little bit better. I'm going to try to get 3 more runs in and we'll consider that my test hit. So clutch, but that was better.
Behind the wheel of the 05 Subaru and John Moore Sodden from La Mesa in the fourth.
All right, 953. Hell yeah. See, that's what I'm talking about. That was my prediction. I think we can do better. So my guess was 950. I think if I get a really good pass, I can do a 940. So we'll see how the rest of the night goes. But that's a great second pass. I'm very happy with that. We're off to a good start.
Samuel Williams. Right lane, 05, Subi. Staged and waiting.
All right, 931. God damn, that was a good pass. My 60 foot was okay. 2.1, I've had better. It's hard to do with this transmission. I haven't got it down yet. I think a little more power. On the next pass, I'm going to try to let the clutch out a bit more aggressively and see if it won't bog, at the risk of bogging and losing a good time. But that was a good pass. That was really good. 931. That's better than I thought I was going to do today.
Davis and Jessica Gutierrez.
That was faster than the last one. I think I can let the clutch out quite a bit harder. Thank you. All right, let's see. 939. Yeah, not quite as fast as the last one, but still good. Still good. So those last three are what I'm counting the average time for. I'm gonna make a couple more runs probably with the time I have left, and I'm gonna experiment with letting the clutch out a little bit, because this is the first time. This is the highest power that I've had drag racing with this clutch. So I'm just trying to experiment with how fast I can let it out and it not bog. So we're gonna test that a little bit. But as far as recorded times, that's it for our recorded times. If we do better than 931, cool, but that's what we're averaging. So just to do a quick recap, stage 2 was a very good jump in power and performance on the drag strip. So we saw a final horsepower of 250 to the wheels and 260 foot-pounds of torque. That is up from stage 1, which was 217 wheel horsepower and 210 foot-pounds of torque. So good power gains across the board, horsepower and torque. And then our average time at the drag strip was a 941, with our best time being a 931. And that is up from an average of 10.07 with stage 1. So that is a 0.66 second difference, which is pretty good translation of the power difference, I would say. Out of the stages we've done so far, I think stage 2 has showed the most improvement. So next up will be stage 3, which is going to be a bunch of fuel system mods, and then we will put it on ethanol and see how much performance we can get from that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like down below. If you have any questions for me, leave them in the comments down below. If you know of somebody who might like this video, please share it with them. And if you aren't subscribed, please consider subscribing. There will be more tuning through the stages videos after this, so stay tuned for those. Subscribe, hit the bell icon so you get notified when those videos are posted. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.